the standard for Bayern is not the Bundesliga. And I know that is a bit rude to say that because they were third in the league. So for them to retain the Bundesliga is target number one. But the standard of Bayern got to be to compete with the best in the world.
Hi and welcome to the Fußball channel. I'm your host Markus Fjørtoft and joined in person
by together at last.
Exactly, in the hotel room in Paddington.
Yeah, we are in London because just after we recorded this and when you were listening to this, we're going to Legends Night, as legends do. Pharrell Williams and Wayne Rooney. It's going to be a tribute to them. Looking forward to that, and it's great to be together again. Lighting, I look a bit sunburned. It's not, but people who follow me at ESPN, I always do these hotel kind of recordings, so we'll be okay. And wow, Marcus, the big game in Germany, Topspiel, Eintracht Frankfurt against Bayern, and wow, that was entertaining.
So entertaining. I think we discussed it a bit the previous week in terms of, you know, we had a top of the table, so to speak, clash between the reigning champions and the record champions, between Bayern and Leverkusen. But it was a lot more of an open game as we saw two of the top teams in this season up against one another. And I must say, you know, you could argue in terms of game plan. Bayern obviously there to dominate, high line, high risk, so to speak, and they did succeed with that. I guess on the reverse, Eintracht probably were happy to give command to Bayern, but extremely lethal on the counter.
Yeah, they were brilliant, and I think that I think we could start with Eintracht Frankfurt to praise them, and then we'll talk about the mini crisis at Bayern, because Bayern now in 8 days, 2 draws and 1 loss. We'll talk more about that, but for Eintracht Frankfurt, yes, ball possession, so advantage Bayern, but still you got Marmoush at the front, you got Ekitike in front, you have chance to change. You can put a Mario Götze on, and I listened to Dino Toppola's interview after the game, and he kind of said, as coaches, I think we deserve something out of this game. And it's easy to say because when you score in 90 plus, you are on a high when the game ends. But wow, for us, praising the Bundesliga, Leipzig first at the top of the table for some hours, and then next game Bayern 1-0 up. And then Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1 up, they're top of the league. And then at the end, then 3-3, meaning that Bayern is still in the lead. But all praise to Eintracht Frankfurt and Omar Marmoush. I mean, he is on fire.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Question, though, because we've been critical of Upamecano, we've been critical of Kim. Incidentally, that they scored 1 each in the game. And, you know, as a centre back, I'll have a look at that, and I look at the high line and the way Bayern play, because it's a double-edged sword.
We're going straight to the Bayern crisis, no? But okay, let's go there.
Well, let's see if we define it as a crisis, because I would say if I'm looking in companies, I'm looking at Bayern's, I look at that game and I think we are dominating. We have over the total of the game, we have 74% ball possession. Eintracht Frankfurt had 5 shots in total. They score on 3 of them, but overall, a very promising performance, a very good performance by Bayern, very much set the tone as to how they started this season. But then they go and lose against Villa. They draw against Eintracht. Now they got Stuttgart coming up, Barcelona coming up. And I guess that is when you play the way you play, you're going to give something up if you go more conservative, if you drop the back line even further. Because and praise be to Upamecano and Kim, following that pretty lackluster performance against Wolfsburg first game of the season, they've done well. And you can see that in the 3-2 goal when they go up through Olise. It's Upamecano who's backing up in Eket to get deep into Eintracht's half. So it works. But you only need those few situations. And when you go up against someone like Marmoush and Upamecano, you are left very exposed. And I guess that's the nature of the system Bayern do in order to stay so dominant. But I don't know how you see that.
Well, 8 days in a Bayern coach life is a long time, because we all know that Bayern is always just one result away from a crisis. So is this a crisis? How do you define a crisis? Leverkusen, they were the better team. You could say they were a better team against Aston Villa as well. You can say they were a better team against Eintracht Frankfurt. But what does that mean? That means it's easy, well, showing that Bayer Leverkusen was not that easy to win against Holstein Kiel. But still, it's easy when you're dominating games and you don't have a Marmoush or a Kitike who is so good on counters, or Aston Villa with Watkins, with Duran, Rodgers. You have those kind of players. And I would say that if I came back, you remember I was skeptical to Kompany. Skeptical in terms that what is the plan B? And sometimes if you have a very tough and clear plan A, that's fine. And I think that Kompany, that's why I praised him. He seems to be integrated well into German. Well, he played at Hamburger Sportsverein, so he knows the German way. Being from Belgium, he will have a good connection with German football. But when it goes get tough now, they played against Aston Villa. It's a great organized team by Unai Emery. Dino Topmüller, yes, it's luck that they score in the injury time, but still, he had done a homework, so had Alonso. So the crisis, that is a mini crisis or more a not winning game crisis, because their overall play, as you have said, has been okay, but is that they take advantage of that. And it is a paradox, Marcus, that Upamecano and Kim are the goal scorers, but they're not a goal avoiders. And sometimes when you play with this high line, it's risky. It's very risky, and you need players then to understand the game. And I went to Sunday, yesterday, as we're recording this on Monday evening, I went to Aston Villa against Manchester United. Man of the match, Johnny Evans. Why was Johnny Evans the man of the match? He's 37 soon. It's because he is a great reader of the game. And I'm not 100% sure that Upamecano and Kim are great readers of the game. And I do think that when you play that kind of system, you need defenders who can read the game. Upamecano and Kim, for me, more 1-against-1, win duels, all over there. But I think we've seen in these 3 games weaknesses in plan A. And then what will Kompany then do for his plan B, which he didn't have it at Burnley at all. So I think that is the only worry from Bayern. And then I will conclude, Marcus, by saying in a Bundesliga, they are more back to normal now, because Dortmund losing to Union Berlin, Leverkusen 2-0 up against Holstein Kiel 2-2, which means that the clubs are back to saying, Bayern, please win the league again, to be a bit rude. But I think the standard for Bayern is not the Bundesliga. And I know that is a bit rude to say that, because they were third in the league. So for them to retain the Bundesliga is target number 1. But the standard of Bayern got to be to compete with the best in the world.
And that's a fair point, because what we've seen is when they play the way they play, they will absolutely dominate a likes of a Holstein Kiel or a Bremen or whatnot. But then again, the standard of Bayern Munich is let's go back a couple, 2-3 years. They fired Nagelsmann because they were at risk of not going for the treble, right? That is the standard by which they play. And I think Upamecano came out done well, but it demands a lot. If I want to take their side of it, it demands a lot from them. You don't have to be involved in too many situations to which it's punished. That is the peril of being a center back. And then you play someone like Marmoush, who now Bundesliga top scorer. And we were looking at Ekitike as kind of like the standout in terms of who could be sold and what have you. But then Marmoush's journey, we discussed it before, but a few words on Marmoush.
Well, I've got people from the Saudis, from Egypt, all over the world. They want me to talk about this new superstar at Bayern. We had Ekitike. We knew about that he would come there. He came from Wolfsburg. He came to Eintracht Frankfurt, and he was kind of seen as a stand-in for Ekitike when something happened to him. Wow, he looks like he is on fire, but the way he kind of time his run, and of course, a striker, it's when you're not scoring, you feel you will never score again, and when you score, and
there's no doubt in his finishing.
But he is in that phase now, Marcus. There is a phase, and I've had that myself all my career. No, I'm just kidding. But I've had that phase as well. You're on the pitch, and you just know you're going to score. Every finish, you just know it. You don't understand why, but you're just on the run. And that's where he is at the moment, Marmoush. And wow, he's top scorer in the Bundesliga now. I'm talking about a top scorer, Marcus. If I can just slightly go back to Bayern again, another worry. You know, when Erling Haaland and Harry Kane, two of the best goal scorers in the world, they always say they don't score in the big games. That's a saying. They don't score in the big games. Well, Erling scored against Arsenal last time they met, and he'll be scoring his goals against every team in the world. Harry Kane has done the same. But that kind of the last week when they play Leverkusen, when they play Aston Villa, and when they play Eintracht Frankfurt, they nearly didn't have a shot on goal, which is like alarming because you kind of feed the critics.
Right.
You kind of feed them. If you win in Frankfurt, nobody will talk about that. But now that's going to be a slightly worry. Am I worried that he will not score again? Of course, he will be top scorer. Marmoush #1 now, but it will be the Kane, the Bayern striker with all the chances they create. Because this team, they will create chances. They will create so many chances. But Marmoush, at the moment, the player of the season so far for Eintracht Frankfurt. And just to remind people, this is an Eintracht Frankfurt team. They were 6th in the league last season. They were criticized that they didn't play entertaining football. And now, wow, my boss or the project where I'm working for Eintracht, Axel Hellmann, he said that our stadium should be a temple of spectacles. Temple des spectacles. So it's a temple of the spectacular things. Wow, a 3-3 against Bayern. Yeah, kind of answer that.
A Bundesliga classic. Eintracht very much in the running, looking to make that stride or step into the Champions League spots. Let's go into a team that, by all accounts now, have to aim for top 4 or nothing, because Borussia Dortmund started off the season poorly, unconvincingly as such.
Yeah.
Lose to Union Berlin, who, by the way, have won all of their home games this season. Kevin Vogt scores first time since 2014. Last time he scored then was against Dortmund. 3 of his 4 goals in the top flight have been against Dortmund. But 2-1, they lose 2-0 down. Ryerson, our Norwegian friend, gets a goal back against his former club. But nonetheless, a poor performance. Kobel came out and said, oh, we didn't play that poorly. Sahin said, it's not a mentality thing. Look how we turned around against Bochum and Celtic. But then goes on to say, we just need to make sure that we don't sleep and we concentrate. But isn't that a mentality thing, I'd argue? How do you review Dortmund's current situations when they were looking to their wonder boy, Nuri Sahin?
Yeah, and Sahin is inexperienced in his job. He knows Dortmund, of course, being a player there, being an assistant to Terzic. But let's see a bit away from the coach at the moment. First of all, big compliment to Union Berlin.
Absolutely.
My good friend Horst Held is a new head of sport there. I'm very happy for him. But you know, in England, they have a thing called things are Spursy. It's like a adjective. It's something that you describe something to be Spursy. Spursy is to be 2-0 up against Brighton, lose 3-2. I was in a taxi with my colleagues when Brighton were 2-0 up, and I say this is 5-5 or Brighton will win. That is Spursy, and the Spurs fans know about it. Dortmund-ish or something. Dortmund a bit of the same lately, because remember they were seen as they were the main challenger to Bayern. Threw it away, couldn't win against Mainz. You know that game when Tuchel got his all titles are deserved, but everybody expects them to win. And Dortmund fans had that Spursy feeling. And the thing is, when so many coaches fail, when so many kind of managers fail, remember they have a rumble kind of thing in the management as well. Lars Rick in the Champions League, hero for 97. He is now the head of the club. Yeah. You have still Sebastian Kehl around. There've been trouble with Sven Minslav. Sahin comes in. They have Gurashi, what have you. There are a lot of players going in, but it's still the same problem. And then this is a cultural problem. And this cultural kind of thing needs to be sorted out. And I think Dortmund will work very hard to understand that. Remember that time when we started the podcast, we were always talking about when one player failed, there was 5-6 players failed, meaning that you have the same type of players. Again, back to being Spursy, because Spursy is a bit like the same. When it's 2-1, you see, oh, we are nervous now. 2-2, oh, we have to give up. 3-2, we can go home. And that's what you see in Dortmund as well now. And they should watch out, because now if Frankfurt can establish them up there, Leipzig winning 1-0, good win for them. Yeah. Our Norwegian friend Nusa with a goal assist. And there's a lot of teams now chasing them. Leverkusen will still stay up there. Although they were failing this weekend. And
I think it warrants more of a special with Dortmund inside, because going into the cultural aspect of Borussia Dortmund deserves more than 5 minutes, and what that actually entails. But what is evidently clear is that maybe it's not just the manager, maybe it's the management team, maybe it's the complacency of just accepting that they were second to Bayern. I think Leverkusen's win maybe removed that excuse or that alibi.
Took an excuse away. And also a part of the thing is that, I mean, we both love Scottish football. I've been very impressed by Celtic this season. I see what they try to do. But Rodgers has gone and then they get hammered in Dortmund. I thought that could be a draw. I thought Celtic could go there and get some, and they won 7-0 or 7-1 in Signal Iduna Park. And then they go in the next game and losing at Union Berlin. Very Spursy, very Dortmund. And I think those are the things, meaning that they have the players. You just have to get that consistency in there. But I mean, the consistency is the hardest thing to get in. Look at the Manchester City. We're talking about the best teams in the world. I was there on Saturday when I played Fulham. Fulham may be the better team if Traore had so much DNA of goal in his body. He would have had a match ball and City would have lost, ending up winning 3-2. I mean, so that is a culture thing. That is to have that. We heard Roy Keane. I had heard him this morning at the Overlap talking about the edge. To have that edge is a part of the culture, and Dortmund don't have it.
Yeah, and lack of leaders. And it might be said also, while Union Berlin registered the highest total kilometers or miles of running for any team across this season, 88.2 miles. I have to translate this to kilometers, which was it was 142 kilometers in total, but it was 9 kilometers more than the Dortmund team. 9 kilometers more they ran. That is significant.
And that is significant. And there's not much stats. I mean, you can turn from
you can say Dortmund had a lot of the ball, etc. But even still, I just think that there is.
No, I had a counter argument that to kind of confirm your stats is that Bayern at the times when they have been fantastic now and are winning all these games, they've been running more than every other team.
Right.
So they've been very good at that. So, but you can win that stats by not touching the ball at all, and you can run.
Of course.
But that is a significant stat to tell that something is wrong. And Dortmund, and they had a home game as well. They were 2-1 down. Was it 2-1 or 2-0 down against Bochum? And when they ended up winning 4-2, when you started talking about we need to make a special, you said that when they're down. And so it's back to typical Dortmund again. And I don't think that the Dortmund fans like to hear that.
No, absolutely not. And a team that also might be a bit concerned about their lack of concentration is Bayer Leverkusen, because there's been a tendency, and without having the exact numbers, the amount of times Leverkusen have been 2-0 up and seemingly dominant, as you may, 2-0, 2 goals up within 8 minutes or so. You were thinking maybe this could be double digits in the way that it's being played out. But again, seem a bit complacent, seem a bit like, yeah, but we got this. And then Holstein Kiel get their second point of the season, 2-2 against Bayer Leverkusen away. I mean, the celebrations after the game all suggested that Holstein Kiel have won it, which they close to have been. I mean, coming back against the champions. But Leverkusen, in terms of their complacency, Alonso seems to acknowledge the same thing. We didn't deserve better.
No, and you can say that after that fantastic season last season, there were a time that, well, you remember, we know our history and we know the results, how they kind of in injury time always won the games and everything. And you can say, well, but still they won. They were the well-deserved Bundesliga winner. This season it's not going the same. Doing okay in the Champions League, winning in the Champions League, then is back to. I don't think about this double thing that they have to play Champions League and league. That's what takes toll on them physically. I think that is a mental thing.
I think so.
Yeah, you have just a couple of 3 months ago you were celebrating the double in Germany. And then you play in the Champions League, winning the Champions League, Florian Wirtz, Xhaka, Boniface, and all that. You have the defender have to be concentrated. You saw some of the goals now they've conceded, easy goals to concede. So, but we said before the season, Marcus, I never expected them to win. I never expected them to defend this title. I think for them this season, have a good run in the Champions League. Have a decent top 3 position in the Bundesliga. For me, that is a successful season because there's no chance that Leverkusen in 1 year can establish them as the top consistent team in the Bundesliga.
And maybe that's the
that is down to Bayern.
And for me, that suggests also when you see them in the Champions League, they win against AC Milan, yes, but they win 4-0 against Feyenoord as well, not conceding. For me, it is then a concentration thing. And let's not underestimate the mental as well as the physical toll from last season in terms of being able to maintain that. But nonetheless, a 2-2 draw. As we get to the end here, we might also want to talk, as we have the results ahead of in front of us. We have Freiburg, who won against Bremen away. Yeah. Bremen have failed to score at home this season. Freiburg, meanwhile, 12 points, even despite losing surprisingly so against Schampauli. Yes, Schuster playing extreme, very promising. Bremen struggling a bit. Freiburg's Doan scores in the 75th minute to put them through. Wolfsburg beat Bochum. You know, Sven scored 2 goals. Here's a funny stat for you: is he has taken 3 penalties for Wolfsburg, missed all 3, but scoring the rebound for all of them. Do you continue him on penalty duties then?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay, we'll take that.
Yeah, now, there must be a time. I saw the goal. They did it, but it was so secure on it. It was nearly more secure on the rebound than it was on the penalty. Because when the ball jumping over, you have to mentally, wow, I missed the penalty, and then you have to concentrate on that. But yeah, a good result for them, and also a good result for Mainz with Bo Henriksen. I just, before we recorded this, Marcus, I did something for Viaplay Denmark. They are searching for their for the national coach, the new national coach. Remember, they are searching for one. They have an interim coach now. They did well in the first international break, but they're looking for one. Candidates are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's what I was on, talking about that. Thomas Frank, of course, in Brentford. But I mean, he's coaching a Premier League club, and it's all money issue. He'll be on fantastic money, like every Premier League manager will be. But then you have Bo Henriksen, who have said in interviews that my dream is one day to be the coach of Denmark. But having said that, Marcus, I think that you need to have a difference between. He comes forward. I don't know him personally. I'm just following him closely. He is that guy who needs to be on the training pitch. You see. If you're a national coach, you have like 20 coaching sessions a year. And I see Ståle Solbakken, my former teammate, and I see he's desperate to be on a training pitch. He's like sitting there like a dog on the door trying to get in. And when you have your last game before Christmas, it's 4 months to the next game. So Bo Henriksen, I think he should stay in Mainz. He's a young coach. He will always get a chance someday to train maybe Denmark. I guess the rest is timing. I'm not talking about getting another Norwegian in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Denmark, like Åge Hareide. They had very successful spell there. But Bo Henriksen winning, I think that was the second game as they won this season. So I thought they would do better. And then,
but then we will see. We'll see. They picked up a bit of form. But what we will say also, with international breaks coming up, we had Tim Kleindienst, who was at Heidenheim last year, who did fantastic well with them, who scored actually in Gladbach's 2-1 loss to Augsburg, as Augsburg got a very much needed win. But my point being is, with Havertz, we had Füllkrug being out of the Germany squad. We have Havertz who pulled out of the squad.
Kleindienst in the squad now, isn't it?
Kleindienst was in the original squad, and then Havertz got injured, and they brought in Jonathan Burkardt, who scored now 5 goals in 6 games in the Bundesliga. Captain, 24 years old, brought in, and I think a very deserved opportunity as such. Scored 2 goals in their 3-0 win against St. Pauli away. Sieb scored the other, who's on loan from Bayern. But a very interesting profile. He was at 22. He scored 11 goals in the Bundesliga, and now 24. Injured, and then towards about a year ago, he came back, got his opportunity, or came back to play his first minutes in a year. Then Bo Henriksen came in, looked to his number 29, and he scored 8 goals in 13 games. To allow Mainz to stay up, and remember how hopeless Mainz were in that position. And he's just continued that form. Been great, been captain, scored 5 goals in 6 games, scored 2 goals now again, scored 2 goals against Augsburg the game before last, and got his deserved Germany call-up as well. So it's interesting profiles for those who, you know, even for us, we're not as familiar with these profiles, and they're coming in and getting their opportunities in the Bundesliga. And that's something Nagelsmann has done as well, and pick players of form rather than merit.
Yeah, I think that is a big difference between him and his predecessors.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Indeed, yes.
Very prepared for my English. Predecessors, and they've done that. And I think the German team is interesting now, because as they're doing that, they're building up a new generation. You see now with the goalkeepers as well, they will probably stick to Nübel. Bernd Leno said, I don't need to go in as a third goalkeeper. I'm 32. I played so many years. You know what you have in me. But if you need me, I come in. Leno, great attitude, want to play for his country, but doesn't have to go there as a third goalkeeper. Same as Neuer, really, because if the World Cup coming up in 25 in the summer, that would make sense. But I like the way Nagelsmann building up his team. They're enough talent in Germany to use them. I mean, see, Füllkrug, he was the exception of the rule because he was older, but some young players coming in now. And I think Nagelsmann is doing the right thing together with Sandro Wagner and Rudi Völler, who is always there to kind of to equal thing out for them. So yeah, all the best to them. And playing for your country is the biggest honor you can have. So I wish them all the best.
And just lastly, in terms of we got Heidenheim and Leipzig.
Good win for them.
Good win for them. But you know, for a team that is up at the very top of the Bundesliga with 14 points, there isn't that pervading optimism in the RB Leipzig camp, so to speak. Even the game against Heidenheim did not go down without a fight, even though Openda put them in the lead. The thing with Leipzig is that they probably haven't played the strongest oppositions, or let me put it another way, have had some draws against teams that they should have beat. But nonetheless, they are at the very top there.
And the only team who got 3 points. You know, you see how close it is now. So you're up there.
Lost the game.
Yeah, and you're up there, and you've got so many match winners in their team, as we talked about before. So you kind of need to keep a clean sheet. Rose will know that because he knows that he got the firepower to get in there. And now you checked me again. Which result have you forgotten?
Stuttgart.
Yes. Have we said that?
No, I had them last. I had them last.
I love it because then I come to the end. 1-1. Stuttgart 1-1 against Hoffenheim.
Yes.
And late equalizer.
99th minute, Demirovic penalty following VAR. Stuttgart got a big point there. Hoffenheim, shaky of starts, better results in Europe, so close to a win, which would have been a huge relief for Matarazzo. But 1-1 between Stuttgart and Hoffenheim. And that concludes our recap.
And now we go to Legends Night.
And we go to Legends Night. It's a big, quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And then we'll get this out.
We'll get our suits on and look forward to being part of the tribute of Pharrell Williams and Wayne Rooney. And maybe we'll tell you some stories in the next... Well, we will. Yeah. Definitely will tell you some stories next time we are here. But that was all from the Fußball channel.
In lovely Paddington.
Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen.